technology is just a solution to a problem. So strip away the technology, that problem still exists. So what is the manual way of doing it? If you think about the lean startup MVP model, and then now let's overlay that process with include technology and technology solutions to make this more efficient.
Welcome to Innovator Tribe Outside the Bubble,
a show about bridging the gap between the inspiration of an idea to the creation of a product.
Ahmad, what's going on, man?
What's good, Boyede, man? What's good?
Yo, man, I had the craziest couple days. Literally, it hasn't snowed pretty much all winter, and all of a sudden we get like 3 or 4 inches within like 1 or 2 days. It's been crazy.
Well, you know, like I'm further down south, so like it dusted some, but it melted like hours later. But I've been chilling though, man. Like it's starting to warm back up again. Hopefully it'll be even warmer tomorrow, and so I can just get back to my spring mentality. I know I mentioned it before in a previous episode, and I'm still looking forward to it.
Hopefully we'll have to be looking forward to it for too long, and it happens, within the next week, because I'm definitely looking forward to the summer. That is definitely the season where I feel like I'm at my best.
when
the sun is shining.
We need to do a show like out in LA or like in Miami, chilling on the beach or something like that. We need to take the show on a road one of these days. Like, I know we got a lot of listeners. That's a great idea. I know we got a lot of listeners out in LA, so like, yeah, maybe we can. Yeah, let's think about that.
Oh man, a touring show of Innovator Tribe Outside the Bubble. I like that. Oh man, DJ Khaled references never get old.
Never.
Oh man, where are the angels when you need them?
They're getting food from Ojaexpress. You see how I did that there?
That was a nice segue right there. So as Abad just mentioned, Ojaexpress, we're going to be talking to the co-founder today, Boyede Sobitan, who is based out of Chicago and has an app in the App Store. You can go download it now. It's Ojaexpress, Ojaexpress. Definitely go download that. But yeah, I'm very excited about this episode, and not only because I've known Boye for a number of years. Me and him actually go way back, where we used to go to church together. Funny enough, a long time ago, as kids. Here he is launching a technology startup, and it looks like it's been doing pretty well. It mentions in Ebony Magazine and DNA Info and all these different publications. Yeah, we got to talk to him today.
Like his background was in healthcare management. He did consulting work with multi-million-dollar companies. So it really folded into how he laid a solid foundation for him and his co-founder to get the success that they're seeing today. It makes complete sense. You're going to get a lot of gems just from how he articulates that story.
He actually goes specifically into how he met his co-founder at a mastermind group. I did find that very interesting in, the fact that he was part of this mastermind group, and it was through that mastermind group that he ended up finding his co-founder, who is also the company's CTO.
I think one thing that's important to note between his relationship with connecting with his co-founder was that he had an experience prior where he had a business idea and he didn't really execute on it. And so that story that he goes into about seeing somebody else implement and execute an idea that he felt like it was his. And so it kind of played out into the way where once he identify his co-founder, they went to work to execute the idea and move fast with a sense of urgency. And so I found that story really insightful and play a pivotal role for his story and his entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, and I think a key part of that was the approach that he took, specifically the lean methodology approach that he actually used in building his company and his startup, and it was really based off of his professional experience in the corporate world as a consultant, that he really was able to not only gain the skills that he used in building his startup, but also hone those skills as professional, and then eventually becoming an entrepreneur and launching Ojaexpress.
I meant to mention this earlier because it's so important. Like his why is super. He has a big why, and the reason why he's made that transition from that corporate to doing this startup today is because his why is in the fact that he's creating jobs within his community, and understanding that that's what his vision is impacting his community through the economics of it as well too. So it was empowering. It was humbling and inspiring to see that's one of his burning desires to keep.
One of the things that also stood out to me was his experience as first generation American, specifically being a Nigerian-American, and how, that perspective and the culture that he grew up in, even though he grew up in Chicago, really has been a driving motivator for him to not only pursue success, but, really strive to create a legacy that would be multi-generational. And, that I think is something that a lot of entrepreneurs think about when they're working on their businesses. And Boyede really speaks to, how that was also a motivating factor for him. So, Matt, I mean, let's get into it, man. Let's go and get into it.
Yeah, let's do it, bro.
But before we do, please don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. Your feedback is definitely appreciated.
Yeah, definitely. We take all that feedback into consideration and helping improve the show. So yeah, like and subscribe.
Cool breeze.
Yeah, so what I'm saying, like, we've been trying to get you for our podcast, and I had to look back to see what exactly information I sent you, and I look back, that was like literally about 3 months ago.
Yeah,
and even before that. So like, we've definitely like been really trying to push to really kind of get this thing launched and get this thing out there. And I'm definitely excited to finally have you on, because just to share with the audience how we know each other. I mean, we literally go way back to what I'm saying, like kids running around Chicago in church.
Yep, back in the day, man.
Yeah, back in the day, and then both of us staying in the same city throughout college, kind of reconnected, and definitely have always appreciated Boyede from even since we were kids, because he always just seemed like way more mature than he was supposed to be. like, I definitely remember Boyede was always like on his game, and for some reason I remember that Boyede actually used to work at a barbershop. And yep. I was like, man, like, this guy, he's out here getting money. You know what I'm saying? Because we was kids, right? And I was like, man, the fact that this guy even is able to get a job, you know what I'm saying, at that age, is like, man, this guy, he's a go-getter. He's a hustler. And crazy enough, however many years later, here you are, as the founder of your own tech company. So it's definitely a lot of growth there, but I can't say that I'm surprised.
Yeah, man, I totally forgot that. But yeah, man, so I started off working at Lord and Lou's barbershop at the tender age of like 10, 11, shining shoes, sweeping up here. Just trying to do it, man. I mean, it helped that a lot of people that we grew up with at the time were also older. Like, we had friends like Suji, G-Day, Damola. Damola and I are like brothers. We've always stayed close, but they were always older than us. So yeah. Those were the people who, I was hanging around with at that time and running with. So it kind of helps when you have a lot of older friends that you're running with and you see what they're trying to do and it rubs off on you. The whole adage that you're the average of your five friends you hang around is very true. So
I
that
love
helps.
that.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
love that quote.
and then you fast forward it. If you think about in a lot of our Black Creek little organizations, you see cats like you coming across living in mansions and doing this and doing that. You see it. It's attainable. So you just
Yeah.
kind of try to figure out a way to how to get in where you fit in to make your own mark.
Yeah. And we're definitely gonna kind of dig into that because I think your eventual transition as tech founder. I'm really curious to hear what the spark was behind that and how you've been able to get to this point. There's definitely been since you've launched the app, definitely been a lot of traction in regards to people utilizing the app. I see that you guys have been very active online as well.
Oh yeah.
There's been a lot of media and publicity around you and the company. So a lot of great things have been happening at Ojaexpress, and I think is definitely due to very strategic leadership.
Yeah, definitely, man, and it helps that we have you have a co-founder. I got to shout out Fala because I don't want to make sure people know this is not just me, but I have a really dope co-founder who also balances it out. I think we kind of balance each other out. Like neither one of us are ever both ready to jump with both feet at the same time. So there's
Yeah,
always
and
one person. Like always one person. Like, hold on, let's check this out first. Let's depending on what the situation is. So it's kind of good to have that counterbalance as a team.
yeah, and we're definitely gonna kind of dig into that story as well, like how you guys became co-founders and decided to start working on this at some point in this conversation.
But first, we do this one thing before we dive deep into the interview. We like to ask all our guests one particular question that really sets the tone for the show. And it's a question tied to when you have a very important meeting or you have to give a pitch. What is that particular song that gets you hyped up and amped up, ready to deliver that pitch and make that like have that deliver a awesome presentation for an important meeting? Like what's your hype song?
What's my hype song? So I'm getting a little older now, so I like to kind of smooth it out with a little R&B these days. So I'm, what I'm saying, like I'm kind of going through that Jay-Z transition a little bit. So everything ain't hardcore, but if I
Change clothes,
right, exactly. You know what I'm saying. But if I had definitely a classic hype song that definitely gets me going no matter what is "Nuck If You Buck."
Okay.
That's like an automatic. Like I don't care. I mean, that song can make you run through a wall. I don't care what nobody says. So, but also I listen to a lot of Afro beats these days. Wizkid. Shout out to Wizkid. He has a song where he kind of talks about one of his prayers is that I want to build a house. He's saying it in Yoruba, but he's saying like, I want to build a house for my mother one day, and I want to build a house for my father one day. So as growing up as a Nigerian kid in Chicago and understanding what our parents sacrificed to get us here, like definitely part of in the back of my mind, one of my motivating factors to kind of reward my parents for their sacrifice. So that's one of the songs that I definitely want to. I definitely listen to as just as a reminder of hey, I didn't get here by myself.
That's real. That's real. And for our guests that don't know, I don't know if I've ever said it before, but I'm Nigerian as well. My family's Nigerian, and that's Afrobeat is definitely what I'm listening to a lot these days. Outside of Khalid B over there with Afro Bang, but the one thing I really love about Afrobeat artists and the music that they make, a lot of times while it's kind of like a dance type of song where you might hear it at the club. A lot of times they're usually like, either it's like a prayer or they're like thanking God. It's always usually something like positive and spiritual. And you know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like a hymn almost, except, you can listen to it, at the club on a Saturday night.
Exactly. No, it is. Nice. I mean, but even if you think about this, the spiritual aspect of music, even the evolution from either slavery to the blues to R&B, there's always a spiritual aspect to it. So even though, you listen to it at the club, but there's certain things that you're saying that, you are some like kind of affirmations. The song
Yeah, manifesting it.
yeah, right. The song I was referencing was Wizkid Jaye Jaye. What does Jaye mean? That means to enjoy life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you only have one life to live, enjoy it as much as possible. But before I leave this earth, I want to build this for my mom. I want to build it for my dad. I want to have money what's the richest guy in Africa again?
I know you're talking about. It's gonna come to me later. It's gonna come to me later.
Dangote. Like, I
Oh
want to
yeah,
I want to have money
Dangote.
like, Dangote to be able to do things. So yeah, so those are songs. So Big Luck If You Buck and Jaya Jaya are two songs that I kind of like. I vacillate between the two depending on my mood. But mostly, more than anything, in order for me to get really good pitches, I just need to take a shot to get the edge off a little bit, and then I'm pretty,
Yeah,
I'm pretty
roll
good.
that.
I'm pretty
Take
good
the
from
job
there.
real quick.
So yeah,
Shake it off.
Nice, nice.
Cool, man. We've been trying to get you on the show for a little while now, and it's been hard because you guys have been on obviously a marketing blitz, and there's been a lot of publicity around Ojaexpress, and you're taking flights out to investors, and all this great stuff. I think our listeners would definitely appreciate you kind of articulating what is Ojaexpress moving towards right now.
yeah, definitely. No, we recently launched a new website. So we had a landing page initially because initially our first thoughts was that we want to have this an app only because everything was moving mobile. So we're like, we need to have an app, and we built the app first. Which, in hindsight, we probably should have built the website first, tested it out, and then built the app. But no lesson learned. At least we got the hard part done, right? So now we are have a full functioning website, which we're gonna have a lot of stuff on there. We're gonna have some blogs, some recipes. You can actually order food, order your groceries through the website and have it delivered. And then now we're also working on the ability to ship to places that might not have ethnic store presence, such as like a Iowa or Nebraska or South Dakota, where you have a lot of students that might be there who want these things but don't have a way to access these things easily.
So you talked about, okay, right now you guys are working through actually building app. I'm not building the web application, but you guys have a mobile app right now. And
Right.
so with your co-founder, because it's you and your co-founder that are behind Ojaexpress, is your co-founder technical? Does he code?
Yeah, he's a technical co-founder. Yep, he's the coder, leads all the technology innovations. Anything we do technology wise or any solution, he's the person that we run it by to get anything done. So
How did you guys meet?
So we met actually through a mastermind group. So he and I were in a group here in Chicago called the Billionaires Club, and the Billionaires Club was started by another young Nigerian entrepreneur by the name of Miriam Garba, who basically wants to bring like-minded people together to talk about how do we use our collective minds to generate wealth for ourselves and by extension our community. So Miriam had an event one day, and Fallout, and then we were going to go to like a restaurant afterwards. Fallout hopped in the car with me and my guys. We were just joking around. We didn't know this guy, but we were just being ourselves. And then I come to find out that he does coding. So never really thought about it from there. So we then I started had this idea about like how do I address the issue of food access to cultural foods for Africans and my immigrants. And I approached Fallout about it. Like, yo, let's I have this idea.
So before that, because I think that's obviously an inflection point, right? Where you actually reached out to. So before you actually started working on AliExpress, what were you working on another business? Can you kind of tell us what your background is?
Yeah, so my background, actually, I'm a registered nurse by background. I have a master's in healthcare administration. During this time, I was a consultant with a healthcare consulting firm focusing on clinical operations and workforce efficiency. So I had a lot of management expertise and understood how to kind of find gaps. And essentially, that's what I was doing. And I think at the time I actually had this idea, I had just became the president for the Nigerian-American Professionals Association. So this was like a couple of years ago. So it was just an idea. This idea kind of came about because I had a friend whose wife is a stay-at-home mom, but she uses Peapod. But she was kind of saying like, she was kind of lamenting like, how is it possible, like, how she uses Peapod, but she always has to go to the quote unquote African store to get her other groceries. And I'm like, there got to be a service out there that allows you can just order your groceries and have them delivered. And there were none. And so that's kind of how the initial idea started. So we started doing a little bit of research, looking at what services are out there, how they do their thing, and realized there was very little services, or there were no services that were on demand for immigrant communities and foodies here in the city of Chicago. So hence I reached out to Fala. I told him the idea I had. He made me do more research because, as you can probably imagine, if you're a technical person, you know how to code, people come to you with ideas all the time.
Yeah.
So he literally made me, I had to really pitch him on the idea to come on board.
Did you always have a foundation of pursuing entrepreneurial endeavors along the way? Was that something that was always on your radar?
You know what? It had always been in the back of my mind. Business in some kind of capacity. So, like I said, as a kid, I always just hustled, figured out a way to kind of just, bring money in. So, and one of the ideas, what really made this idea stick was a couple of years ago, I had an idea of having African fabric ties and for men, for wearing in the corporate workspace. So I had this idea, try to get designers on board, had the whole shebang, and it just stayed there. And I was going through the airport one day, and I was reading the GQ magazine, and I saw this guy, similar background as me, and he launched the idea that I had, and that was like a punch in the gut for me. Because it was like, that was my idea, but I mean, at the end of the day, you can have all the ideas you want to. It's all about execution. Who's gonna do it? So it taught me a lesson. Like, never again. Next time I have an idea and I think it's worth pursuing, I'm gonna pursue it. Come what may, and let it do what it do.
Okay. So I think that's very interesting because you said before you started working on Ojaexpress, you actually had another idea for a business, and you kind of got things started, but weren't able to really fully execute on it. So was Ojaexpress kind of really the first entrepreneurship endeavor where you really were able to follow through and gain some traction?
Yes, it is. It is. I mean, it's the first time we did the whole shebang, got a lawyer, registered a business, did the whole structure of any type of this is the first time we've taken it to put the pedal to the metal and went for it. Yeah. Like before, I got a designer, I got a logo, had conversations, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, and never really put the right effort into getting it done.
So what was different between then and now, besides the fact that you saw the feature of the person, talking about the success of the business? Like, what was that thing that really made you be like, man, okay, this is an idea, and I'm gonna do it now?
The fact that I think the seeing that GQ article was a huge motivating factor. I just never want to have that feeling again. Like failure might come, and it will come inevitably in some instances, but the ability, the knowing that you could have done something and been great at it, and you never did it, or you quit, that is enough of a motivator for me, at least. So that was always in the back of my mind. And two, Ojaexpress is just seeing that I saw it as a real need. Like, I looked at it every type of way from different angles, and this is a real market that has been undertapped and underdeveloped. So we can really make something happen, and we can really blow things up from here. Yeah, that was it. It just boiled down to it looked just, there was so much to do it. And then at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself the question, like, why not me? Or why not you?
I understand the benefits of having a community around you and collaborating with smart minds. I just never heard anyone really spoke in detail their story about the benefits of a mastermind and how that intertwined with their business opportunities.
Well, the mastermind group was good from the standpoint of that, what we used to say, like, okay, by the time we meet the next time, I would have done this. So it had a task list that you had to report to and we're held accountable to. So that was very good for us, for a standpoint of, okay, by the time we come back, we'll register the business, we've done this, we've done that. So it had a group that held you accountable. And also it brought a lot of diverse groups of people who had different interests and different ways of how they want to kind of, amass wealth together. So we had a group of people who we knew that, hey, that if we want to, when we get to the point where we start seeking outside investment, we go to this group. And or we could get ideas from this group. Like, hey, what do you think about this? Or we had the group had people who had networks that we can probably leverage as well. So the mastermind group, which was called a billionaires club, was very instrumental in us kind of moving forward and hold us accountable.
It kind of also worked out in your benefit because that's how you met your co-founder.
Exactly.
I'm interested in that story. Like what happened like after you guys were in that car ride?
Well, that car ride, I was just being myself. He was being himself, and funny enough, like even if you get a chance, if you know me now, and if you know him, you'll see like how it works. I'm definitely way more outspoken than he is, at least outwardly outspoken than he is. He's a pretty mild mannered guy, very observant, chill, relaxed kind of guy, and that's pretty much what it was. We just, we happened to be in the back seat, started just chopping it up. He said he's a developer, and at the time the idea hadn't come, but I had known that, hey, when the idea did come, and I had to think about who was the first person I could talk to that could help me get this off the ground. He was it.
It sounds like you already kind of had in mind is like, I want to get into entrepreneurship, and even subconsciously kind of, building that network that would allow you to, move a little bit more quickly if you were just trying to work on it alone.
Right.
So I'm curious. So like you get, fill out on board, and you're like, okay, let's start working on this thing. So was it immediately that you guys started working on creating an app, or was there something, before that, before you actually even started coding, that you guys did?
We went straight to the app. He did all the app stuff, and I started doing a lot of the business development stuff. I started to talk to people, do surveys, go to some of these stores and talk to them, and say, hey, we want to bring you onto our platform. So that was the angle I was working on. I was trying to drum up the supply side while he was working on the technical discussion.
You mentioned you didn't have really any technology experience in the background. So like, how did you figure out a way to navigate all of the tasks you need to get this up and running off the ground, like from the idea?
I think for me, having management experience helped a lot. I've managed upwards of $40 million budgets for different departments in healthcare. I've gone into hospitals who needed to make decisions on staffing and who need to find $2 million of staffing labor opportunities. So I think that helped me a lot. And then also understanding processes and process improvement. That was my strength that I kind of brought to the table. So even though I don't know as much as coding, even though I'm learning now, I'm learning a lot about Python, and I think that's my introductory to coding. But at the end of the day, technology is just a solution to a problem, correct? Mm-hmm. So strip away the technology, that problem still exists. So what is a manual way of doing it? If you think about the lean startup MVP model, and then now let's overlay that process with include technology and technology solutions to make this more efficient. So I think sometimes we kind of get caught up in the whole aspect of developing apps and technology solutions and forget about the problem that we're trying to solve.
You mentioned one of my favorite methodologies, lean, the lean methodology in Agile. So and that was actually something that I also found very, very, very valuable as I was working on my startup. Was that something that you actually came across before you started working on the year? Like when did you kind of get into the lean methodology and start applying it to building Ojaexpress?
Well, lean methodology has been something in healthcare has been for a long time. I mean, even if you think about just as you develop the product, and you think about the value add. Who's the product supposed to be a value add for? So we have two primary customers. We have our retail customers, but the value add is for the customers, right? So when you start thinking about solutions, like what does value add to the customer? Like, yeah, you can do a lot of back end stuff, but the customers don't care about that. So using that as a framework to kind of help us even prioritize what are we developing. Like we might need to code something, a native code for something on the back end for us to kind of be more efficient, but the customers don't care about that. They want to see quickness. They want to see an app that fires up. They want to see responsiveness. So those are the things we kind of have to balance out. So I had already been exposed to lean in my operational experience already. So it wasn't a foreign concept. And I got more exposed looking at Eric Rice and how you use lean as technology And healthcare also being a area where there's a lot of technology with EMRs and a lot of advancements that you kind of have to understand these things. Not a lot of healthcare administrators and operators understand it. They kind of are kind of old school, so they haven't really adopted lean as a culture. They know the lingo. They could talk about the lingo and the 5S's and all this other stuff, but they haven't really adopted it as a culture of management and a culture of, rapid improvement and rapid testing.
Like we're going to include show notes from some of your highlights from this within the media, and there's a lot of great information already out there about your company and your startup and this attraction you're making. But I'm interested in knowing, like, what's Boyede like what's driving him to wake up every day and realize this challenging problem that he's trying to solve and getting it from the Chicago market to scaling it to different states and worldwide. I'm not sure how far you're trying to reach, but what's driving you as an entrepreneur to keep at it?
I definitely think that our vision has grown beyond just a capital enterprise. Like right now, we have a group of interns that we have from 4 interns from four different cities that are working remotely on helping us on a project. Now, these are interns who otherwise probably wouldn't have gotten an opportunity to kind of get this experience otherwise. And in addition to that, we're also helping them with their development of their resumes and how to word different things. And these are like sophomores, juniors who are getting very early experience. So take that to another level. Now when I can walk down the street and I can see, a kid on Southside Chicago and ask them, you need a job? I got a job for you, and to really be able to say that, you can, help communities and help people build, I think has been a little bit of my motivation. Of course you have yourself as motivations. We want to be one of, I'm not sure how many there are, but one of the few Black tech startups that takes the IPO. Of course we want to do that because I think there's power in imagery, right? We just know we see that now. We have Barack Obama as a president, and regardless of how you might have felt about him, but there's kids who grew up who've only known a Black president. And that's powerful. Yeah. Right.
Right.
So now take it to a level where you're like, wow, like this guy, he was a nurse and he somehow was able to create a company that went IPO. Or take it to another level, right? Let's assume we don't go IPO, or let's assume we go IPO, we get bought out and we're sitting on tons of money. We now have tons of money where we can invest in other companies and kind of teach people how to build. Because I think ultimately we're going to get to a point where we're going to have to start building our own economies. And no better way to do it than to look at somebody who's done it already. And we're still growing and we're still learning too. So by no means are we out here like, oh, we got all the answers. We definitely leverage other people who went before us. I'll call Toye sometimes to ask them some product development advice. I'll call people who've done it before me. And you have to be humble as well to do that. Like there's some people, I have a mentor that's 24 years old. I'm like over almost a decade older than some of the people who are mentoring me. And, and somebody like, so what? No big deal. But from an African standpoint, that's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, your junior person is mentoring you, but you know what? He has experience that I don't have. So in this capability, I can humble myself and say, I need to learn from this person. So that's what keeps me going. Just the ability. I think that's of what we can do and how we can really impact communities and impact individual lives. Now, I told my mentor, I told my partner the other day, like when this is all said and done, our office will look like the United Nations because we're gonna have a lot of different ethnic groups on the platform, and we will have one of those truly, truly diverse companies that we know right now tech is a big issue.
I kind of want to touch on something that you just mentioned a second ago. Was, at the end of that, I think the most successful leaders, recognize, that they don't know everything, right? And what they do is they surround themselves by people who are smarter than them. And that's how, if you're able to get the best out of, different people and get, advice and bounce ideas around intelligent, smart people who may or may not have experience directly in that thing you're trying to solve, two heads are better than one.
Definitely.
At the end of the day, two heads are better than one. And, that actually kind of goes into my next question of, how you went about of actually building your advisors, building not only your advisor team, but also the team that you have working on Ojaexpress right now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So we were fortunate to have an advisor who I actually been personally following for a number of years. I don't want to say his name because it's somewhat confidential, but he's definitely had he's started a company. He had exit. He and his partner. He's a leader in the tech community. Like as in when he posts on LinkedIn, he's a huge LinkedIn influencer. So it happened to be a Nigerian guy, and funny enough, Fola was on a plane from Nigeria with his father, and that's how we connected. And I have been following
Oh
this guy for
wow.
a long time. Like, you know this
Oh
guy,
wow.
and we just started off with a conversation. But I think we talked to him, he told us that the reason why I rock with you guys is because you guys have been consistent. Like we'll call him every week, we'll give him updates every week. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing this. What we're thinking about, and he respected that. So that consistency showed him a lot. And then with regard to the interns we work with, I think one of the things, one of my favorite sports that I played growing up and I love is football, right? And one thing about football, what I love about football, is never really the size or the talent of someone that determines the success is their heart. Like how much do they really want it? So one of the things that we look for when our intern, like, yo, how much do you really want this? Like, what is your goals and how much do you really want it? Because everybody can say, yeah, I want an internship. I'm gonna just go ahead, knock this out real quick and get a notch into my belt. But we look for will more than skill. Because we can outsource a skill and pay somebody to do the skill if we want to. So, but you gotta really try to get down to people's psyche to the point where you know how. I mean, they gotta have that dog in them. Like, I want this, and you gotta have to figure out a way, whichever way you do, to determine how big is that dog in them.
This may sound like a little bit of a sidebar, but it kind of hit me on your company seems to be growing to like the platform of Airbnb, but what's on the plate, because Airbnb is trying to be all this diverse, like bringing in people in communities, but like you're like the food that's on the plate. I don't know. That's what I'm getting from it, and
we pay Airbnb money because that's one of the companies that we definitely watch from a standpoint of how they did things because we're scrappy. We're still self-funded right now. God willing, but that won't be the case by the end of the year. But we're really, really scrappy. Like we argue over pennies. You know, where we're gonna put our last penny of investment into what part of marketing development, what have you. So
what was the last argument?
the last argument we had was about taking investor money and how much was it enough. So and like we had a disagreement. Like, well, this guy wants to put in $5,000. I'm like, dude, the legal paperwork to draw up that contract alone, it was not even worth it. Like, and I'm like, yo, let's go for $1 million. No, we just go back and forth, like, how much we want to do it and how we want to go about doing it. So one thing that me and my co-founder, we rarely argue about what we need to do. We argue most of the time on when we need to do it. Like, where in the process do we need to do it? That's our biggest argument. Like, not necessarily if we should be doing something, but is this the right time to be doing that thing?
So you're talking about priority.
Exactly, prioritization.
I mean, at the end of the day, the CEO is kind of like, when you're the CEO or, you're running a company, essentially, whether or not you take investor money, you're essentially a steward of resources, right? And when you're a startup, self-funded startup, most of the time it's, you're the steward of a very limited amount of resources, right? So I'm curious when you actually decided to, make this transition from kind of being in the corporate side to entrepreneurship, what sort of conversation or what sort of pros and cons did you weigh?
Oh man, that's a good one. Pros and cons as far as like going into the entrepreneurship standpoint is one, sustainability. Like, will I be able to sustain? I mean, when you want to go into entrepreneurship, I rarely advise people, especially Black founders, to go on both feet. Like, work as long as you can, stack your chips as long as you can, plan your exit. And do not think that, oh yeah, this is going to be good. I'm about to put this app out and then sell it for $1 billion tomorrow. It does not happen that way. I mean, I think TV, a lot of media has hyped a lot of people up to this false sense of like this instantaneous success, and it's not that way. You got to have a support system. And you have to really, like I said, you have to really plan your exit. Like, you can't, especially with Black founders, like a lot of us don't come with trust funds. We're not trust fund babies. So we don't have an Aunt Gertrude that's endowed X number of $1,000 for us to kind of trick off a year to invest in a company. We just don't have a lot of us don't have
Gertrude?
that. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, a lot of us don't have that. So to say that, oh yeah, I could do what, maybe somebody whose family has a longer history in the United States can do, it could be it could be a false sense of exuberance. So and nobody knows that where you are financially. So plan your exit, give yourself some timelines and goals, and then go for it. I definitely say work as long as you can. And if you got you got to you got to work your 9 to 5, you got to work your 5 to 9. But you should be doing something every day. I tell people you should be doing at least 5 things every day towards your own business. That could be sending an email to 5 people. That could be email, setting up a meeting, whatever the case may be. But every day, at the very minimum, you should be, if you're starting out, you should be doing 5 things every day towards your own business.
You sound like you had it all figured out before you started, man. Like this building this business was like a breeze in the park for you.
Far from it. Hell no. Like what helped is the fact that seeing $50 million on a P&L statement wasn't a shock to me. Cause I've done that already. Like my first job out of my internship, my fellowship, I had like a $15 million budget, right? Multiple departments. I managed people. I managed almost 100 people in a department before. So like those managerial experiences that I had before was kind of like a startup in a sense, because I brought my own style of doing things. They never had this manager before. We had to make this business unit profitable, or at least not lose money. So I've had that stewardship responsibility. So that also helped. And it also helped that my first job as a nurse was in the ICU. Like it's hard to get rattled when you see somebody's brain get split open literally in front of your face. And you have to and you just finished eating lunch. Wow. Like this is the everyday thing. It's hard to get rattled when the helicopter flying in with somebody who's bleeding from every orifice of their body, and you have to do whatever you got to do to save that person's life. So for me, a lot of things it's hard to rattle me because I've seen death. Like when I come into as a 20-some-odd-year-old kid working in ICU, like any given day, 40% of people who are there when I left won't be there by the time I leave. And
so what was one
everyday thing?
Wow.
What was probably like the one transferable process that you took away from managing all of those, like having that managerial experience? Like what's one process that you did back then that you still do that's beneficial to building Ojaexpress? I
definitely think email management is a huge thing that I kind of carried over. Managing emails, sending emails, email etiquette. Because even though you're in the startup community, it's a little bit less formal, but still, first impressions matter. So I definitely make sure that those things are some transferable skills, and just task management, which is ever evolving how I manage tasks. And then also making sure that we also are routinely looking at finances, talking to our accountant, and really making sure that we are doing things from a fiduciary standpoint. Even though we're not invested yet. Nobody's invested in us yet. But it's like, inculcating those practices. Like, even though you don't have an investor yet, you should manage and build your company, even if it's bootstrapped, as if you were, right? Because those things are going to carry over. Like, you're not going to all of a sudden start acting right when you get $1 million investment. You got to kind of build those habits and that culture now on the front end, so that, they carry over and are further, amplified when you do get the financing you need to kind of really do what you got to do.
Like you said, you guys haven't received any funding just yet, and I know that's kind of on the horizon. But without funding, like you mentioned before, this is self-funded, and you have your co-founder, so that definitely helped with alleviating any sort of cost as far as the development of the app. Is your co-founder also building? Is he actually building the website as well?
Yeah, he's leading the website development. All the technical stuff is under his purview.
When we talk about like the team and the limited amount of resources, what sort of things do you do to really be able to manage all the various tasks as a CEO and founder? And make sure that they're getting done.
It's a balancing act. I'm definitely.
Does that make sense?
One of the other things that I kind of brought over from my management days was a CAPM tool called WWW, the who, the what, and the when. And I added another W as the why, because I think everything you need to do has to have a purpose, or has to fit a purpose that you seek to find out, that you seek to implement. So I bring that too, and we just review it every week. Like, okay, last week we said this. Why didn't this get done? When is it getting done? Because sometimes it's easy to say, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and do this, and then there's no date. Like, well, I'll tell you, one of the biggest things I hate is when we say we're going to do something and we don't put a date behind it. Like, it has to be a date. It has to be a level of accountability, because we just kind of leave things open ended, things never get done. Yeah. So that's kind of one of the things that I just focus on. Like, yo, when? Give me a realistic date. Even if you're bullshitting me and say, give me a date, at least I can hold you to the fire that, hey, you said it's going to be done by this date. Give me a realistic date.
The developers
and vice versa. And I'm come to find out he hates, like, well, this, I got to test this. I'm like, okay, great. So what I'm going to do is, in between those dates, I'm going to be checking in, spot checking. Okay, how far are we there? What percentage are we there? Boom, boom, boom. It's a little micro, but he does it to me too. Did you talk to that guy? Did you email this person? You do this? Did you know what I'm saying? So it goes both ways.
I was hoping you could share real quick. What was that moment you started to see the traction occurring with Ojaexpress? Like you like, was there a particular strategy that you implemented with the app?
I would say the moment we started seeing more traction. So we actually were participated in the Power Moves network in Oakland. So Fola and I went to Oakland for about 3 or 4 days, and we were a number of other entrepreneurs from across the country, and we got a chance to pretty much have like a boot camp on like what do we need to do, like what metrics we need to hit, and how we need to go about doing it. And something about being in the Bay Area, the ideas just flow. I don't know if it's the air, if it's the water, I don't know what it is, but we just started to think, like, okay, what barriers are we putting in place for customers that we can get more customers in? So one of the things we did was, and it might seem simple to you guys, but like, for example, a open face sign-in. Like, so first we had the app where you just download the app and we couldn't capture any data on who downloaded the app. So we just had like a simple Facebook and Google sign-in, which people loved. Like, more people just download the app, and we were able to capture the emails and be able to follow up with them on the back end, even if they just download the app and register via the Facebook or Google. So that's one thing we did. Also, email. It's not one of my favorite things to do, because we got to come up with something to say every other week. But just emailing people to say, hey, if you need us, here we are. And that kind of helped with traction. And then, last but not least, it also helps when you get, like companies or media outlets such as Ebony or DNA Info or Chicago Inno talking about what you're doing. So that's helped a lot too.
So you actually just kind of rolled into my next question. So, obviously, the public is appreciating the solution that you're providing, and, that's visible in, the variety of media mentions that, you and Ojaexpress have received since you guys launched. My question is, so as far as the roadmap, like what do you envision as the roadmap for Ojaexpress in the next 12 months?
The roadmap is definitely getting our website up, running, and very ubiquitous. So we definitely see ourselves doing a lot more collaboration. Because I think one of the bigger things we want to really focus on is engagement. It's one thing to have customers acquired, but nothing to engage them, to be top of mind, or to be referenceable when they're in that time of need. So it's one of the things that we're trying to really work on, is like, how do we intertwine ourselves into our customers' lives? How do we make ourselves indispensable and useful and valuable to customers when they're thinking about things, when they might be thinking about home, being homesick, or that person that might have been that American Caucasian woman that might have just came back from a mission trip to Africa, but had a dish that she really loved that reminded her of the people she stayed with. So how do we get to that level of consciousness with our consumers? Or somebody like myself, who I miss my mom's home cooking, but I'm busy. I'm not trying to drive all the way to the north side to go to get these products. So we're trying to get into the psyche and trying to get into the everyday practice of our customers. So that's what we've been heavily focused on.
I'm definitely, a fan of the app and the solution that you're providing as, a Nigerian who definitely appreciates some good Nigerian home cooked foods.
Definitely.
I would definitely, recommend the folks in Chicago. If you haven't downloaded the app, definitely download the app.
Or visit the
Yeah.
website.
Everything you can think
on
of
the
is on
website
there.
now. And then we're also growing. Another thing that we didn't talk about is that we're also providing a platform for other entrepreneurs. So we're talking to a young lady who has a natural hair care product who she can't probably go to some of the stores and get the exposure she wants to. So Ojaexpress might be her first portal of exposure, and that's fine. So she can use our platform to sell her products or her goods and get it delivered to people directly. So yeah, we're not just like with the retailer, but if you all, I mean, there's women who we talk to who imports palm oil from this one specific village in the Cameroon. We're in conversations with. So there's a lot of opportunities we have to kind of really develop an ecosystem for foodies and immigrants alike.
We're at our fire round portion. Well, we don't call it the fire round, but it's kind of like a fire round. But it's the standard questions that we ask everybody. We call it the dropping gems section, and this is a portion of the show where a lot of those key insights that our listeners tune in for. They can take notes and apply these actionable steps, into their lives with their business. And so I wanted to jump off and start with the first question for the dropping gems section. And that question is, what top 3 tools would you recommend to yourself when you first started working on the idea?
Top 3 tools. I mean, definitely all the Google suite comes very handy. They're portable. You can type a Google Note on your computer and have it on your phone if you have all the Google suites. So definitely make sure you have that. Make sure you have. We're actually looking at a virtual AI assistant because our calendars and our requests are getting to the point where it's starting to make sense for us to do that. But in addition to that, also make sure you have your support or your vendors like vetted and on point and at your disposal. And when I say at your disposal, meaning, for example, like we have an accountant. I can call my accountant anytime and he'll answer the phone. And my lawyer, hey, we have this come up. Like you need to really make sure you have that strong support team of vendors and just a team that's going to help you get things done because you can't do it yourself. Like don't do the whole legal Zoom thing. Don't try to do the TurboTax by yourself. Like, there's the reason why these people exist, and you need to make sure that they understand your business and understand you as an individual, and that they can help you execute. And then what happens also that they also help you by referring them to other. They might have other clients that might be synergistic with you. Like my lawyer has introduced me to a number of other high profile people that we're probably going to be working with in the future. So make sure you have your team set up. Make sure you have your software, like your app suite, whatever it might be, that's portable that you can use in different settings, online and offline. And make sure if you do need to, make sure you have some type of assistant that helps you kind of manage your schedules and your email. So
I mean, you kind of touched on a lot of different things there, and I'm kind of curious to kind of dig into really the specifics, like the AI virtual assistant and all that stuff, and just so we can include it in the show notes as a resource. So I'll definitely make sure we get that, and so we can include that in the show notes. The next question, as an entrepreneur, you have so many different things that you're juggling, so limited amount of time. What do you do to keep yourself sane, man?
Recently I just got back into video games. I haven't played video games in a long time. But playing 2K has been 2K, NBA 2K and Madden.
Okay, you get
and
some
those two
sticks.
games kind of help me keep me sane. Yeah, just every now and again. Also, just like I say, having a good support system. I hang out with my boys. They keep me humble. So we play pool every Friday. So just being out there, just kind of sometimes stepping away from everything. It helps you to also think clearer. So those are probably the 2 main things that keep me sane. Just kind of being around other people, and talking about non-business related stuff, And then, of course, when I'm like burning the midnight oil and I don't want to look at something right now, let me just shoot a couple of shots, get a couple of shots up on 2K17. So
Nice. Well, the next question, I'm pretty sure you're going to give a great answer. You manage multi-million-dollar departments, so I can imagine the research you're going to share right now. It's a simple question though. Like, what is your favorite business book?
My favorite business book, almost anything Malcolm Gladwell puts out. Outliers, David and Goliath have been the two I read before. But I would probably say the business book that really changed my life and perspective has been Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? It's the story of Reginald Lewis' life, who at the time of his death was the richest black man in America. Yeah. The only thing I like about the book was that he was a Kappa. But other than that,
I think he was like the first black U.S.
That's one thing. Other than that, that aside, he was a great man. Led a very interesting life. He and John H. Johnson used to go back and forth on the billionaire status. So John H. Johnson, being from my chapter, of course, had to root for the home team. But yeah, so I think that was a sentinel book for me, and then the subsequent books after that have been a lot of Malcolm Gladwell books and a lot of books on just mindset related. I think Dennis Kimbrough has books on Think and Get Rich. I think the name of the book. He brought it down to the black application. Also, he has The Wealth Choice: Success Secrets of Black Millionaires. So I think Dennis Kimbrough, Reginald Lewis, I would definitely say, I would tell anybody to definitely read that, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? Especially close to the latter end of the book. It was really, really, really good for me. And then just looking at the tipping point, Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers, David and Goliath, just things that we think we can't do, but if we persist, we keep on doing it repetitively enough, you eventually get good at it. So yeah, those have been some of my top business books that I've read.
Those are definitely some of my favorites as well. That's I feel like that's kind of what we're doing with Innovator Tribe, really being able to translate a lot of this tech speak in a way that people are able to digest it and it makes sense for them, because there's people like yourself who are out here doing it, and kicking ass, like, for real.
We're trying to, man. You
guys are definitely doing your thing over there at Ojaexpress.
Like I said, I think we'll be fine as long as we remain humble, remain scrappy, remain hungry. I think if we kind of keep that level of scarcity as a way to kind of innovate and to kind of keep scrappy, I think we'll be okay, but God willing.
So the last question for the gem round, probably one of my favorite questions. The question is, what is something that you do not want an app to replace?
What's something I do not want an app to replace? Well, I think they've already done it, but like the game is so messed up now. Tinder's really messed up the game. So that whole I think that has really that ship has sailed already. So I think sometimes, once again, going back to the whole adage of really not technology should be an enhancement, not a replacement. So I think we've kind of lost a little bit of our social interactions through technology, and I think it would be kind of good to kind of get that back a little bit, but you can say the same thing for Facebook. You have all these trolls and these internet thugs who like to talk tough, but they see you in real life, they're really not about that life. So I think as much as possible, if we can kind of pump the brakes on the whole human interaction, I think that would be something I would love apps not to replace.
No, I'm definitely in agreement with that. Sure.
Yeah, me too. We gotta learn how to talk to folks. Using technology for everything.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Like you'd be surprised. You go on the streets and you just say hello to someone, and then they're like, "What? You say hello to me?" Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they're not used to that. Like they use somebody texting them hello.
No, I completely agree. I really do enjoy this. I really enjoy like our conversation. Like I want to listen back to it because like there's some parts I just want to rewind and dive deeper into. It's great just learning about this like Ojaexpress and like just the work you've been doing. Especially for me, I relate to it a lot because you know I didn't come from a traditional technology background. But before we depart and wrap up the show, I wanted to, you know, give you the opportunity to share with the folks how they can get in contact with you.
Definitely. So you can find us on all social media outlets or platforms. On Facebook, just search Ojaexpress, Ojaexpress, all one word. Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Those are all our platforms right now. You can visit our website at www.ojaexpress, again, all one word.com. And if you want to get in contact with me directly, you can email me, Boyede Sobitan at Sobitan. That's the letter B, Sobitan at Ojaexpress.com. And I'll try to email you as soon as possible. So if you're an entrepreneur out there, you have a product, platform, something that you want to kind of get out to the world, definitely hit us up. And also, we definitely encourage everybody to download the app. And if you don't have enough app space, you run out of space on your phone, you can visit our website to order a product, and we get it to you the same day.
Boy, once again, thank you for joining us on this episode. There are so many stories and gems that I feel like the audience will definitely appreciate.
Thanks for having me, man.
We're also looking forward to some of this content that you're about to start putting out with Ojaexpress, because I feel like it's definitely needed, and I feel like there's definitely people that are kind of like waiting for something like this. So that's awesome. We're definitely looking forward to it.
Definitely. No, thanks for having me. And also shout out to you guys for doing what you're doing with this podcast, man. I know it's not easy, but you're also, putting out stuff. Sometimes people don't have access to certain people to share knowledge and wisdom. Sometimes people have questions, and you all are asking those questions and getting out there, giving people the information and the knowledge and the courage to go out there and do their thing. So